Hakainde Hichilema has strengthened his standing among international investors. This is through a series of market-friendly economic reforms, a landmark restructuring of Zambia's debt following the country's 2020 sovereign default, and renewed efforts to revive the vital copper mining sector. His re-election for a second five-year term with around 60% of the vote has been welcomed by markets as a sign of policy continuity and economic stability. However, despite the positive macroeconomic indicators, many Zambians continue to grapple with the high cost of living, unemployment, and questions about whether economic growth is translating into tangible benefits for ordinary citizens. Joining us to unpack what President Hichilema's continued leadership means for Zambia's economy, investors, and the wider region is Yusuf Dodia, who's a Zambian economist. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time and welcome.
Good evening. It's great to be with you, Tracy.
Thank you very much. You're speaking to Mpho. Now, President Hichilema's re-election has been described as a vote of confidence in his economic agenda. From an economic perspective, what message does this send to international investors?
Well, look, first we need to be clear that we've had a peaceful election in Zambia. We've went to the polls on the 13th of August. The results took 3 to 4 days to come out, and the results were announced on Monday to announce that President Hakainde Hichilema had won the election and would then be inaugurated and sworn in as president for the second time, which is his second term of 5 years. Now, for many of the investors who had invested in Zambia or were planning to invest in Zambia, I guess it gives them a sense of relief that they knew the government that they were speaking to prior to the elections, and that government has been returned into office and will continue to give them the same support that they were having prior to the elections.
Yeah.
I think that for other investors that were looking to come into Zambia, maybe the biggest message that goes out to them is that Zambia has had peaceful elections. That unlike other countries where you see some challenges, some internal civil strife, with Zambia, it's been cleared that President Hakainde Hichilema has won this election, and that he will then be able to give us leadership for the next 5 years. And I think that for many investors, that is something that's very welcome.
Yes, and investors, pardon me, clearly like what they're seeing in Zambia, but what exactly are they buying into?
Well, for Zambia, I think that we are a country that is endowed with lots of minerals. And with the advent of the electrical vehicles and a lot of solar products that are coming out today, the demand for copper is ever increasing. 10 years ago, the price of copper was about $6,000 to $7,000 a ton. Today, it is hedging towards $14,000 a ton. And there are predictions that copper could go up to as much as $20,000 a ton in the next 5 to 10 years. So for Zambia, that's quite a windfall, because obviously the rest of the world will be looking to Chile, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Zambia as the main sources for copper. So for Zambia, clearly, we're looking to see how we can extract much more copper out of the ground. Our target is about 3 million metric tons from the current 800,000 metric tons. And maybe in the next 5 years, what we'll also do is aim to add value to copper. Yeah. In other words, have more copper manufacturing plants in Zambia going forward.
So Zambia has attracted investment, as you say, but are those investments, are we seeing the tangible results? Are they creating enough jobs for Zambians, or are we seeing growth without sufficient employment?
Well, I think historically, right up to this date, I don't think that the mining industry has created enough jobs for Zambians to be satisfied. We're exporting close to between 50 and 70 million dollars a day of copper. For that amount of exports, one would have expected that the mining industry would have, employed a couple of million Zambian employees. So I guess the next 5 years is about attracting investors in copper producing products. So when we're looking at copper cables, we're looking at copper products, switches, light switches, electrical products being made in Zambia. I think that is where the job creation is going to take place. And we've got at least 6 economic zones in different parts of the country that are set up specifically to attract investors to come into Zambia and add value to the raw materials and minerals that we produce in Zambia. So this is the agenda for the next 5 years.
Yeah. While investors appear optimistic, really just listening to what you're describing here, many citizens on the ground may argue that irrespective of that, the living costs remain high. Why is there such a disconnect between strong macroeconomic indicators and everyday lived household experiences?
Well, I think we have 2 economies running in Zambia. We have an economy that is based on the exchange rate of the kwacha against the US dollar, which has really improved. March last year, it was 30 kwacha to 1 US dollar. Today, it hovers around 18 kwacha to 1 US dollar, which is an appreciation of about 40-45%. Now, this has resulted in a lot of imported products coming down in price, being affordable to the Zambian population. But then the second economy we have is the economy that actually hovers around food production. And that is an economy where we're looking at locally produced, locally manufactured food products. Now, this sector or this economy is plagued by high fuel prices and high electricity tariffs. So that is something that we need to tackle because with the high fuel prices and the high electricity tariffs, the cost of production is extremely high. So food products are very high in Zambia. And I think that in the next 5 years, one of the priority areas is to look at ways that we can produce more electricity and cheaper electricity and probably move from solar energy, that is the trend today, and move to more hydroelectric power stations, because we've got 7 major rivers, 4 major lakes, and 19 waterfalls that can produce about 10 gigawatts of power, when at the moment we're producing around 3.5 gigawatts.
Yeah.
So electricity, a big number 1 priority. And then when we look at fuel products, of course, we import fuel. We don't produce it in Zambia, but we do have an oil refinery. And I think the resuscitation and upgrade of the current existing oil refinery will bring down fuel prices, even if international prices are going up. And by us investing in a wide railway network across the country, we will also reduce the cost of transport because of the economies of scale. Rail transport is 25 times cheaper than road transport, and therefore the benefits to manufacturing, lowering the cost of transport and travel, will definitely impact on the local prices in Zambia and bring them down.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. Let's perhaps leave it there. Yusuf Dodia, a Zambian economist, speaking there on what lies ahead in terms of Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema's re-election. And of course, he's standing among international investors through a series of market-friendly economic reforms, the landmark restructuring of Zambia's debt, and the bigger picture as we take a look at the re-election.